Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you my best tips and tools to inspire you to create beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I am back. You guys wanted more fall DIYs, so I am back today with 6 quick and easy fall DIYs that you still have time to make this season. So with all that being said, let's get crafting. DIY number 1 is a wall tile pumpkin. I have made different variations of this project using this 3D pumpkin from Dollar Tree as well as the wall tile and a variety of ribbons. So the first thing I'm doing is removing that raffia bow and the big blob of glue, and then taking a piece of cardstock. I'm using my fingernail to trace around those 3 raised sections of the pumpkin, so I can then cut these 3 pieces out as templates. Once we get those 3 pieces cut out, then we will trace around them on the back of the wall tile, cut those out, and they will fit those 3 raised areas perfectly. One thing to note, if you have not used these adhesive wall tiles before, is they are only adhesive around the edges of the square. So right here where I'm cutting, it is not adhesive, so I'm having to make sure I'm holding that back where I traced, holding it to the tile because it is not sticky. So just keep that in mind as you are cutting out your shapes. Next, taking my glue gun, I'm just going to apply some hot glue onto each of those 3 raised sections and gently press down the piece of the wall tile. You don't want to press it too much because the plastic could melt on that hot glue. So just tap it down gently so that you don't lose any of those raised areas on your wall tile piece. Next, taking my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, or you of course could do this in whatever color you choose. I am just going to first cover the surface of the wall tile. I kind of go my brush in a circular motion so that it gets all those little spaces on the raised areas. Once I have those 3 pieces painted, then I'll go back in and paint all the pieces of the wood pumpkin that are between the wall tile. Once that plaster paint is dry, next I'm taking some truffle brown and just gently going over the raised areas to bring out some of that detail. And I'm also going to take it a little bit around all the outside edges of our pumpkin as well. Next, I decided it looked a little too perfect, so I'm taking a baby wipe and kind of smudging that brown paint a little bit before it is completely dry, just to give it a little bit more of a worn antique look rather than just a relief look with the brown paint. Then taking some glue, I'm going to put a little hot glue on the back of the stem, and I'm going to wrap the stem with some jute twine. This adds some more texture, and it's also a great way to cover up that hole where the hanger was originally. Next, I'm going to cut some pieces of ribbon to make a messy bow. I'm going to use 4 different ribbons here and just get them slightly smaller as we go out to the top of the bow. So we'll have this plain burlap, this kind of dark orange plaid from Hobby Lobby. This one I believe is Temu. It's like burlap with lace. And then this is a Dollar Tree ribbon as well. I do like to dovetail the ends of the ribbon. And then once we have all of our pieces stacked, we'll take a piece of jute twine across the center, flip it over, and tie a knot on the back to secure our messy bow. Then we'll just take a dot of hot glue and attach that right underneath the jute twine wrapped stem of our pumpkin. Then I decided to add one more little bow made out of some black and white baker's twine. I doubled the twine, and then I'm making a simple bow with leaving the little tails a little bit longer, but I'm going to trim those up and glue that right to the center of our messy bow. To make a stand for our pumpkin, I'm taking 3 Jenga blocks. I'm going to glue 2 of them together side by side, and then I'm going to stack another one, kind of making stair steps. We're going to let these dry with the wood glue, and then once they're completely dry, I'm going to paint them also with that truffle brown chalk paint. Once that is dry, we will glue this to the back of our pumpkin at the bottom so that it can stand on its own. And here's the finished project. I know there are many different variations of this project. I hope you enjoyed this one and you'll give it a try yourself. For DIY number 2, I'm going to take some wood slices from Dollar Tree and this tray to make a little pumpkin display. Now this tray came in a set of 5 or 6 that I got at a local craft store, but you can find wood trays like this at Hobby Lobby, or you could even just use a wood sign. I'm going to paint this entire thing with that same truffle brown chalk paint, all on the inside and on the outside. Next, I chose 4 of my wood slices, and I'm going to paint these to be pumpkins. I'm going to do 2 of them in the orange colored Waverly chalk paint called Pumpkin. I'm going to do 1 with plaster, and I'm going to do 1 with peacock. I'm just painting the very front of these wood slices, not doing anything. Now, while those were drying, I cut a piece of burlap that's going to fit the back or the bottom of this tray. And once I had it cut, I'm just going to do a little bit of hot glue at a time on the back, pressing it down with this little kitchen spatula from Dollar Tree. You can see I'm just going to keep working my way across, just doing a little bit of hot glue and just gently pressing that burlap down. I don't want it to stretch or fray, and I want it to fit perfectly in the bottom of this rectangular tray. Then to add a little bit of a distressed look, I'm taking that Plaster Waverly chalk paint, the off-white, and a chippy brush, and I'm just going around the edges of the tray that are not covered now by the burlap. We'll go on the inside and also on the outside. Next, I'm going to place my wood slice pumpkins. I'm also using some of these sunflowers with the wires on them from Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue down the back of the flowers first, and then we'll glue down the pumpkins. Now, I should have made the sunflowers a little further away from the pumpkin wood slices. You'll see here in a minute that I'm going to run into a little bit of spacing issue when I start adding stems to my pumpkins. But once I have the flowers glued down, I'm now going to glue down my wood slice pumpkins, and then we will add some wood stems. Now that I have my pumpkins and my sunflowers, I'm going to add one of these wood words from Dollar Tree. Sorry, this one's from Hobby Lobby. Dollar Tree has the metal ones, or you could use Scrabble letters, you could use individual wood letters, whatever you'd like. I'm also going to take some pieces of some Excelsior or raffia, different people call it different things, and I'm just going to make a simple bow with it that I'm going to glue up in the top left corner of our tray. And here's finished DIY number 2. I love it. I think it's so cute and colorful, and you could definitely make this with your own style. If you're stopping by my channel for the first time today, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. I hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber over these last 4.5 years, thank you so much for your continued support of my channel. I hope everyone will take a second, tap that bell, make sure your notifications are set to all so YouTube will let you know when I go live on my channel or upload a new video. For DIY number 3, we're going to make some really simple foam dice pumpkins. I'm using 4 of these orange foam dice from Dollar Tree, some wood stems, some wood letters, and these raffia bows with buttons from Hobby Lobby. Now, to make this easy, I knew I wanted to paint my pumpkins orange, so I grabbed 4 of the orange pumpkins. I only did 1 coat of the paint. If you were maybe going to give these as a gift or sell it in a craft show, I probably would do 2 coats, but for me, it was just fine. I'm going to do the top and then about halfway down on each of the 4 pumpkins or on the dice. And then once those are dry, I'll come back and do the bottom and the other half of each of the sides. Next, I'm going to take some wood letters. These I think are from Dollar General, but I know Dollar Tree has some as well. Or you can even use sticker letters. And I'm just painting them black because we're going to glue these to the fronts of our pumpkins. So now that they're dry, we'll take just a little bit of hot glue on the back and glue one letter to the front of each of our dice pumpkins. Next, we're going to add some of those same wood stems from Dollar Tree to the top of each of our pumpkins. Now you could definitely add leaves or pit berries to your pumpkins. I'm just going to use these raffia bows with buttons that were gifted to me. I'm just going to glue one at the base of each stem. Again, here are our foam dice pumpkins. You could make these in whatever color you want, using whatever you have on hand for your stems and your letters. For DIY number 4, we're going to make a happy fall pumpkin sign using one of these metal pumpkins from Dollar Tree, a wood sign, some scrapbook paper, and some Scrabble letters. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that pumpkin chalk paint and I'm going to paint my metal pumpkin all orange. Again, I kind of have to go in a circular motion around those metal details there to make sure everything gets covered by the paint. Of course, you could paint your pumpkin whatever color you want. Now this is a square wood frame. This one's from Hobby Lobby. I know Dollar Tree Plus sells these for I think $3. I had originally painted it teal to use it for something else, but it doesn't matter because we're going to put scrapbook paper on it anyway. But I did go around the frame on the front, the outside, and the inside with antique wax using a baby wipe. And then once I was done doing that, I did take a paper towel and just rub over it to try and dry it. Next, taking some matte finish Mod Podge, I'm going to brush this, spread it out evenly over that entire back surface of this wood box frame. Everything that you see, I had originally painted teal. And then we're going to take this plaid scrapbook paper that was in my stash, and we're just going to Mod Podge it to the back of this frame. Next, coming back to our pumpkin, now that the orange paint is dry, I'm taking my chippy brush and my plaster, and I'm just dry brushing some streaks on my pumpkin just to add some interest, make it look distressed. Again, if this is not your style, you can just leave your pumpkin a solid color. But I really like what this does, and it also brings out those little metal spirals on each of the sections of the pumpkin. Next, I'm also going to paint the stem of this metal pumpkin with truffle brown and the leaf and little spirally vine with moss. Now, I did decide to take some Mod Podge hard coat and go over this scrapbook paper just in case it would ever get wet. I would hate for the scrapbook paper to rip. I'm going to go around the inside of the box frame as well as the very top edge. Now here's a little trick for getting your Scrabble tiles straight. You can see I've got a couple blocks in there and I'm just using them as an edge. I had marked the center and so I'm starting the Y there and then pressing each Scrabble tile right up against the next one. Now here when I go to move to the word fall, you're going to see me put one of the L's there as a space holder, and then I will start gluing down the letters to spell fall, and then once we get to that last letter, we'll just pull it out of that space and glue it on the end. Then we've got our two words straight in a line and even from the frame. Then lastly, just adding a little bit of hot glue around some of the lowest portions of this pumpkin that will touch the background of the frame. We're going to glue this down to the back of our sign and add a little baker twine bow. I love this, and you could give these same materials to a group of people and get such very different variations depending on the color you paint your pumpkin and the scrapbook paper you put on the background. For a complete list of all the tools and supplies I've used in today's projects, please click the down arrow or the word more to open up the description box below the title of this video. That will show you a list for each project of what I used. I also have my links there for my Amazon storefront and my Magnolia Design Co. website. For DIY number 5, we're going to make a really simple house for fall using one of these house shapes from Dollar Tree, as well as a wood pumpkin ornament and some scrapbook paper and twine. Now, I had used this house for something else, but I just sanded it down a little bit and I'm just painting right over that music paper with some plaster chalk paint. We'll let that dry completely. And next we'll take our pumpkin wood ornament and paint that with Waverly pumpkin. Once that orange paint is dry, I'm going to take a small brush and just very lightly do some shading in where the sections of the pumpkin would be to give it some dimension. We're also going to take this brown paint, the truffle, and go around the outside of our house shape as well as the outside of the pumpkin there. Next, I had cut a little strip of this fall plaid scrapbook paper. I'm going to apply some Mod Podge to that bottom portion of the house and attach that really cute scrapbook paper there, pressing it down, making sure there's no air bubbles, and then we'll go over the entire front of the house with Mod Podge as well. Next, I'm going to attach a little piece of jute twine on the inside of the house, and I just wanted to wrap it a few times around the house right at the top of the scrapbook paper. Next, I'm going to just make a tiny little jute twine bow to glue to the top of our pumpkin to cover up that hole. I wanted to add a little embellishment of a piece of jute twine with some wood beads on it. So I'm going to string 6 of these tiny plain colored wood beads on this piece of twine, and then we're going to have it hanging down 3 and 3 from the jute twine that we wrapped around the house. And once we have that in place, we just need to glue our pumpkin to the top portion of the house. I just love this, so cute. And again, customizable based on the color of your pumpkin and the scrapbook paper that you use as well. DIY number 6 is one more really simple pumpkin. We're going to take 2 of these pallets from Dollar Tree, a wood stem, and just a few other embellishments to make a really cute and different looking pumpkin. So I'm taking 2 of these pallets, like I said, remove the tags from the back, and then just using wood glue on those 2 cross pieces, we're going to glue these 2 pallets together back to back. Once that wood glue is dry, we're going to paint our palette pumpkin. Again, you can use whatever color you would like. I'm going to use the off-white plaster chalk paint for this one. Now kind of the opposite of what we did on the tray, I'm going to take the truffle paint this time and dry brush it over the plaster. Just to, again, give it a little bit more distressing. If you ever feel like you put too much, just sand it down a little bit. That will blend it out. Now to embellish our little palette pumpkin, I'm just going to add a few leaves from some faux florals, and we'll add a wood stem for our pumpkin, and then a few little berries as well as a dried orange rosette. You can take this idea, make it yours, use what you have on hand, or whatever you can find. Lastly, I decided I wanted to wrap some jute twine around the bottom of this palette pumpkin as well. So attaching it on the back, wrapping it a few times, and then we'll trim it and attach it to the back again. And here's our finished palette pumpkin. I can't wait to see how you make yours. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Take care.